Dr. Phil.
I've been burnt. I've been beaten. I've been starved. I can't cope. Then I use the alcohol to try and numb the feeling.
You have been through major trauma in your life.
Is what's going to trigger him more is having his mom in the house or getting the call that his mom drank herself to death.
There's a difference between asking a question and being ready to hear the answer. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today is going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
Get ready to take care of you. Well, Tiffany says 13 years ago, she was immediately drawn to her husband, Chris, after meeting him in a coffee shop. After he asked her on a date and gave, Tiffany says it would be no exaggeration to say she is probably the most difficult mother-in-law of all time. Tiffany and Chris both say Nellie is a heavy drinker, doesn't work, leans on her son Chris to pay her bills, lives like a hoarder, and meets random men online who are likely scammers. And yet, despite all of that, Tiffany says she needs my help figuring out if it's a good idea to allow her mother-in-law to move in with her and her family. Take a look.
My mother-in-law, Nellie, she has a lot of problems. She struggles with daily tasks that would come easily to others, such as paying bills, making doctor's appointments, her own self-care. Last month, Nellie lost her husband, which has left her more fragile than ever. I've seen her spiral so far out of control.
You're attacking her for no reason.
I'm not. You know what?
When Nellie is drinking and becomes belligerent, she's not herself. One day, we were picking up some furniture. Nellie got super offended. We tried to bring her home, and she tried to jump out of the truck. I had to grab her arm to physically restrain her until we could safely pull over, and she was clawing at my arm and screaming. I've seen the toll that it's taken on my husband. There's been a lot of alcoholism through his mom, which has been passed down to him. My kids have been exposed to a lot of arguments and tension, and I was able to sweep it under the rug a lot when they were younger, but now they're teenagers and I can't do it anymore. This isn't a Nellie problem. This is a whole family thing that I'm trying to get help for. I'm tired of seeing my mother-in-law and my husband hurting, and I don't want my kids to have to go through the same thing. My biggest fear for Nellie is that she'll drink herself to death. I feel that if I can't help my mother-in-law break this cycle, it's gonna get passed on to my children and then grandchildren, and then where does it end?
Well, Tiffany, you feel like you're between a rock and a hard place.
Yes, Dr. Phil.
And where is the tension you feel?
It's trying to be a glue to hold everybody together. Honestly, at this point, alive. They've suffered so much pain and trauma. I know that they need help. I just don't know what help they need, and I don't know how to get there.
Okay, do you want to know? Because there's a difference between asking a question and being ready to hear the answer. Because there aren't always easy answers to hard questions.
I agree.
And your husband isn't even living with you right now.
He went up to Alaska when we found out that his father was about to pass. He was able to spend some time with his father in the hospital and with him when he passed. And then he stayed with his mom because we knew it would be difficult and she was going through a lot of things.
So how long has he been up there?
It's been about 5-6 weeks.
Living with his mother?
Correct.
And still living with you and the children?
Correct.
That's not fair to you.
No, it's not fair to me. It's a sacrifice I've been willing to make because I know that he needs to be there for his mom.
You wrote in because you said you're fed up with your mother-in-law's behavior, and this goes way back before her losing her husband. She's had 40 years
Correct.
to work on this.
Correct, and she's
that-
never gotten the help that she needs.
And you can't give her that help.
I
You
can't.
realize that.
I do.
And this is not something that Chris can fix.
Nope.
And in fact, she can be a trigger for Chris, right?
Yes.
And Chris is a recovering alcoholic.
Correct.
And he's been doing well,
Correct.
but she's an alcoholic.
Correct.
And she can really bring a lot of drama into the home. And one of the questions you had is, does it make sense to move her in with all of you?
Correct.
Is that an open question?
It is, and I feel it's also a conditional question. I don't want to say abidance because she is an adult and it's her decision, but at the same time, we do have to consider our young children who are very, very impressionable. They're coming into their teenage years, and ultimately, that's also why we're here, is trying to avoid the same fate for them that my husband has had to endure.
Right. Well, Tiffany says she's terrified that her husband, Chris, will be triggered by his mother and unravel, start drinking again. He's backstage. We're going to hear what he has to say about all of that when we come back.
My family and marriage has suffered because of my mom's abuse. I feel at times that I'm my mom's babysitter. I've been going nowhere, taking time away from my family and my kids.
And later,
I'm lost in every way.
yeah.
Hurt.
Do you have a problem with alcohol?
I don't want to go there.
Tomorrow. Remember this guy?
I was getting death threats.
Did the Tanacon scammer change his ways?
It bothers you to hear people still regard you as a scammer because of the Tanacon.
You're so unorganized, Michael. You also did this to Jackson.
Okay, that was 2017.
Do you have the login information to the account? That's a yes or no question.
Okay, I'm not gonna have a conversation that's this defamatory when this is a prime example of someone who is literally using my name.
That's tomorrow. Then on Thursday, imprisoned by anxiety.
The sheets are always drawn.
These curtains, he's actually screwed.
You say even the dog is showing anxiety.
Absolutely down to the dog.
That's Thursday.
There was a scene at Costco. We had a disagreement. She stormed off, and she said that she was going to walk home.
She didn't come home for hours. Ultimately, we found her at a casino.
She's sitting at a poker table with a couple guys. I approach and I say, "Hi, Mom." She says, "I don't know you."
We had to get her into the car where she jumped out on the way home.
She wanted to get out, going 70 miles an hour.
She jumped over a fence where Chris had to physically restrain her until police and ambulance got there, and they could commit her to an institution against her will.
Well, I'm here with Tiffany. Her husband, Chris, says he's extremely concerned for the well-being of his mother, as you can imagine, particularly when she's just lost her husband. Let's hear what Chris has to say.
My childhood was like a tornado. It was lonely because I wanted a family, but my mom is broken and hurt. There was a lot of fighting. There was chaos. I do remember her having these loving, caring moments, but then this destructive behavior would take over and spiral from there. My family and marriage has suffered because of my mom's abuse and her alcoholism. I think my mom's drinking is to forget and feel normal. Not the guilt and the shame. My mother told me she was molested and raped at the age of 6. She was trying to help me understand what she went through, that she wasn't perfect and she was trying her best. I would get up and I would hug her, and even though it was hard to listen to, it seemed that she didn't have anybody else. Currently, I'm taking care of my mom in Alaska since my dad died last month. She struggles to get out of bed, and she struggles with anxiety and depression. I feel at times that I'm my mom's babysitter, and it just feels like I've been going nowhere, taking time away from my family and my kids. Tiffany worries that it's gonna relapse me into drinking. I'm trying with whatever I have to help my mom. She's worthy of love. I try to tell her that she didn't ever stop being a mom.
Chris, good to meet you.
Thank you.
So I've been talking to Tiffany, and Everyone, I think, recognizes that this is a difficult and can be a chaotic situation with your mother, including your mother. Do you agree with that?
Yes, Dr. Phil.
What are you observing in her when you've been up there?
I notice her falling into the darker spots that she has been before, not being able to find a purpose and get out of her current situation where the role is that she just wakes up and hopefully not drinks, but that's most likely what happens, and depression.
And one of the things you're trying to decide right now is, should it be an option to move your mother in with you? And if so, under what circumstances?
We both believe, that you should honor your parents, blanketed. But it is very conflicting because our whole lives have been revolved around creating different childhoods for our kids than we have. So it's just a very, very big internal struggle.
It's been pretty high maintenance. In 2006, your mother, Nellie, had a DUI. 2007, she had a DUI and then court-ordered inpatient rehab. Then in 2010, Nellie and Dan, you'd had an extended visit. Then in 2015, they move in for several years, and this is when your mom had an affair with a neighbor, and you had a DUI, and then you were in the hospital for depression.
Yes.
2018, Nellie disappears at a casino. Then in 2019, she's kind of moving between her car and a hotel. 2020, Nellie and Dan stay with you guys again. Then in February 2021, they return to Alaska. This is when your father, her husband, passes away. Very sorry for your loss, by the way.
Thank you, Dr. Phil.
And then you go to Alaska to stay with your mother to kind of help her over this initial rough patch, which is clearly going to be a rough patch for anyone. So historically, you have some history of her and them living with y'all.
A significant history, yes.
Yeah. And how did that go?
It feels like it came to a head and then it popped every time.
A few times, yeah.
So it's not worked?
No.
It hasn't.
Well, one of the things I said to Tiffany was, when you ask a hard question, you have to be ready to hear an answer. And I'm curious if you're really ready to hear the answer to some of these questions.
110%.
Okay. Well, we're going to meet Nellie later, but I need some more time with these two because I want to talk about some priorities, some realities, and what all of us need to face when we're dealing with parents, because these two are what's called the sandwich generation. They've got kids that they're raising and responsible for, and then parents that they really have to be sensitive to as well. We'll talk about that when we come back.
And my question is, what's going to trigger him more? Is having his mom in the house or getting the call that his mom's drank herself to death?
Chris, you need to hear this real clearly. What's wrong with your mother is way above your pay grade. I want to talk about things that need to be talked about.
Hate crimes in the U.S. rose last year to the highest level in more than a decade.
Why am I being targeted just for looking the way I am?
It gets worse, Dr. Phil.
The carnage in our nation's schools has become painfully repetitive.
I just started screaming her name,
But I never heard anything back.
The police officers, we failed you.
More intense, more inclusive, more informative than ever.
The defunding plan has failed. It's a complete disaster.
People will do desperate things in order to survive. You're not solving anything by arresting those people.
We're not trying to win an argument, we're trying to solve a problem. Customers seem to be losing their cool at the drop of a hat. What the hell is going on? If you miss a day, you miss a lot. Oh boy, are we going to talk about that.
Living with my mother-in-law has come with extreme complications and struggles. She ended up having an affair with our neighbor.
The neighbor had a girlfriend. I got a call at midnight from the police department. My mom had been in a fight with a neighbor's girlfriend. The fight was pretty serious. My mom was bruised up, had been cut open, and her clothes were ripped, and she was crying.
And I think that because of Nellie's unhealthy attachments, when she receives attention, it can be perceived incorrectly, and she feeds on that. She hasn't gotten that kind of attention from men because of my father-in-law's dementia, so because she was receiving that, she was vulnerable.
Well, I've been talking with Tiffany and her husband, Chris, who say they're torn about what to do at this point. Chris has just lost his father, and his mother, Nellie, of course, has just lost her husband. And so what to do now? I pay a lot of attention to what guests do from the minute we engage with them until you get here, because it's a microcosm, I think, of how they deal with life in general. And my observation is you guys have really been trying to handle her with kid gloves. You wanted the same green room when you got here. You didn't want her separated. You wanted to know who was the EP of the tape that was going to be played about things that dealt with her. You needed to talk to her about the content of the tape before it played so she would know. Like, let's tiptoe around as though she doesn't know what she's been doing. She knows this stuff. You're trying to control all of this out of sensitivity.
Because I don't want to waste the opportunity.
Yeah,
because I really feel like it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, well,
and
then
I don't want it to blow up.
You need to let it happen instead of try to dictate it happening.
Yeah.
Because the question here is, does it make sense to move your mother in with you at this point? I kind of wrote down some things. If you were going to put an ad in the classifieds seeking a housemate, to be a good fit, they must drink excessively, be argumentative, have no boundaries, be immature, dysfunctional, codependent, use bad language in front of the children, trigger the husband and father, Chris, a recovering alcoholic, be self-destructive, impulsive with PTSD, anxiety, and depression, make excuses and not listen, be broken and hurt, but also loving. If you put that ad in the paper, she would be a perfect housemate.
Yeah.
I made that list from traits and characteristics you attribute to her, and she attributes to herself.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at it listed like that, does that answer your own question? Do I move her into my home? You've done it before, and it didn't work. And the good thing about the passage of time is you don't have to speculate, you can just measure.
And my question is with that trigger with my husband, is what's going to trigger him more? Is having his mom in the house or getting the call that his mom's drank herself to death?
Chris, you need to hear this real clearly. What your mother does, your mother does. And what's wrong with your mother is way above your pay grade. You are not qualified to fix it. You've been trying to fix it for years. You've done everything except hog tie her and keep her in a closet.
She was living in Alaska on her own until 2015 when I had my own dark period. And at that time, she had given up what she was going through and came and she sat by my side. I'd just like that to be recognized also.
Oh, I get it. You love your mother. I get that she is not an evil demon.
Okay.
I get that. I have a priority here. The priority is you have 2 teenagers in your home. You have an undivided loyalty to your children. To bring that influence into your home is not putting your children in the top priority. Here's a good example. This is a tape you sent us. After a family trip to Costco, Nellie ran off impulsively, and Chris later found her in a casino. Here's just a little clip of the ride home.
Still, Dad, I don't want to listen to that. Oh, forgive me, dude. Forgive me, my Dad. You want to play games? I'll play.
Okay, you want to play games? I'll play games. At that point, she's opening the car door, right?
Yeah, a few moments before that.
She's going to jump out of the moving car.
Yes.
Okay. Look, if moving her in and trying to do what you could do to help her had a chance of solving her problems, you could make an argument, maybe. But moving her in and trying to help solve her problems hasn't worked and won't work. So you can't even really make an argument. This isn't even a close call. Coming up, Nellie is backstage and says no one knows the real story, which she is ready to tell. We'll find out what she's talking about after the break.
They took me out of my own home because my father beat me. I go into foster homes, and they beat me. I've been burnt. I've been beaten. I've been whipped. I've been starved.
From Navigate.
Assume the parental role in him and his mom's relationship. He's always been very protective over her. My husband has chosen to stay with his mom in Alaska since the passing of his dad because he feels like she's unable to care for herself, and he's always felt the need to care for her and make sure that she's okay and she has the things that she needs. And we have helped numerous times pay some bills, and it's difficult for us as well. Helping my mother-in-law financially has caused financial hardship on our family.
Well, I'm here with Tiffany and her husband, Chris, who told us before the show that his mother, Nellie, can be argumentative and very difficult. She also is his mother, who he loves very much and has some great qualities. Now, Nellie admits that she has a difficult time controlling her emotions, and that affects how she functions in her life.
I do suffer from PTSD, and just when I think I've overcome and life's okay, something comes and just smacks me and everything goes to pieces. My whole life, I have been made to feel less than. Can I take a break?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, that just got really hard. They took me out of my own home because my father beat me. My mother beat me. I go into foster homes, and they beat me. They sexually abused me from the age of 2 to 16. I've been burnt, I've been beaten, I've been whipped, I've been starved. Can we take a little break? Sure. Just a second.
You take your time, okay?
I'm sorry. I can't breathe. I can't.
We're gonna make it through this.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm trying. I get to where I can't cope. Then I use the alcohol to try and numb the feelings. I'm really overheating again.
Okay, take a break. Take your time.
It is so hard to overcome the shame. That's been totally unhealthy, and that's the burden that I put on my family. I'm sorry. I was getting to where I'm panicking, and I have a hard time breathing. The biggest thing I'd like to ask Dr. Phil is how to overcome the emotional pain.
Well, Nellie, it's good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
First off, let me say how sorry I am for your loss.
Oh, thank you.
You guys were together how long?
38 years.
38 years. Long time.
I'm lost in every way.
Yeah.
Hurt.
You say that Chris worries about you, and he's been up spending some time with you. Has that been a help?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Do you have a problem with alcohol?
I don't want to go there.
I'm sorry?
I don't want to go there.
You want to go where?
You're talking about the alcohol? It's like the emotions. Yeah, I don't mind. That's what I'm here for. It's what leads to the alcohol.
Yeah. So you would say you would say you self-medicate with it.
Yeah. I get to where I can't handle my emotions, and the only way that I know how to deaden them, it doesn't.
Well, Tiffany says her mother-in-law does what she can to cope, distract herself. She worries sometimes that she talks to people online, which exposes her to scams. We'll talk about that briefly when we come back, but I want to talk about your emotions more than anything else. We'll discuss all of that after the break. You're concerned that she sometimes is transparent about this with your children, and they don't know what to do with it any more than you guys know what to do with it.
They're not too young to know things like that happen.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil.
It bothers you to hear people still regard you as a scammer because of the TanaCon.
Did he change his ways?
You're so unorganized.
Okay, I'm not going to have a conversation that's this defamatory.
That's tomorrow.
Closed captioning provided by...
My mom was scammed.
She believed that Keanu Reeves was in love with her and ultimately wanted to marry her. She forked over her bank account passwords, her email passwords, her Facebook passwords, everything over to this scammer.
I feel sad, also kind of frustrated because I've been giving her money and helping her pay her bills.
My mother-in-law has been scammed out of over $10,000.
She was hurt because she wanted a relationship. She wanted to be loved.
Well, Tiffany and her husband, Chris, say they're here today because they don't know how to help Chris's mother, Nellie. They believe that she very much loves them both. They believe that she very much loves their children, but at times her emotions just get out of control, and she does things that she regrets later, but that doesn't change the impact at the time. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Would it be accurate to say that in this phase of your life that you definitely need to have a plan about what you're going to do going forward?
Yes, and I think learning how to deal with my emotions.
You have described a history from a very young age until you were 16 that sounds to me to just be horrific. And obviously it's damaged how you feel about yourself.
Yeah, sense of lack of self-worth.
Uh-huh. And what are you doing about that now? Are you getting help with it now?
It's like, yeah.
We'd like some help.
My kids.
We'd like to know where to move forward.
My kids
right now.
have been there for me, all of
Right.
them.
You're concerned that she sometimes is transparent about this with your children, and they don't know what to do with it any more than you guys know what to do with it.
My oldest did come to us, I believe it was last year, and had questions because she did let him know that she was sexually abused, and it made him uncomfortable.
They're not too young to know things like that happen.
You're correct. I don't want them to picture it happening to their grandmother.
That's not what that's not what was going on.
They're not too young to be
I-
aware so that it doesn't, they know they're not supposed to be touched. They know
Yeah,
their privates
exactly.
are their privates, but they are too young to know details and to know
I
that
didn't
it's
give
happened.
details.
They don't know that stuff
I
has
did
happened to
not
their
go
mother.
into
I wouldn't
I just
tell
said,
them about me.
You know, no one has the right to go there. That was it.
Okay.
Do you think you should live with them? What's the discussion about? What are you feeling most passionate about lately? Is there something you want to talk about and think others need to be talking about more? If so, we want to hear from you. Log on to drphil.com homepage, click on any of the links under Be On The Show. Do you think you should live with them?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
And how would that work? How would that... You would move to where they are and live there for the rest of your...
No, not for the rest. Just to get over the hurdle. No, I told him that I was going to go back home. And Chris said that he would rather I go and stay with them a while.
I was pushing pretty hard for it.
You've done that before, right? You've lived with them before?
Yes.
How did that work out?
It was difficult at first, yeah.
We listened to a tape where I think you were pretty intoxicated and were trying to jump out of a moving car.
Yes, I have.
What, do you remember that?
Yes. I was trying to get away. I didn't want them to come after me. I just wanted to be left alone at that
Which
time.
brings up a good question. When would it be enabling and would it be a good time to step in on my part?
Well, let me be real clear. You have an undivided loyalty to your children. No question about it. And I think moving your mother in while she's in the state that she's in is flawed in two ways. Number one, it won't fix her problem at all in any way whatsoever. And number two, it will be very disruptive for your children and it will be very disruptive for your marriage. So that's not going to help. It's not going to fix the situation. So you would be making a huge sacrifice for no end result that would help. So if your question to me is a solution to move your mother in and have her reside with you for a period of time, year, 2 years, whatever, rest of her life, in the current situation and circumstance she is mentally, emotionally, behaviorally, absolutely, unequivocally not.
So if we brought this timeline backwards and said, instead of a year, it doesn't have to be such a lengthy timeline where welcomes are worn out. How about 6 months, 5 months, 4, 3? And that way we're still able to support each other. She doesn't have a support system in Alaska. A lot of the times, she's a great grandmother. Our kids love my mom. So with a shorter stay, maybe some limitations or boundaries, some other things in place, guidelines and support system for all of us going forward with that, how would that be successful?
.com homepage, click on any of the links under Be on the Show.
With a shorter stay, maybe some limitations or boundaries, some other things in place, guidelines and support system for all of us going forward with that, how would that be successful? 0.
0. You're just delaying the inevitable, and you're just setting up another crisis, another chaotic situation. It's absolutely not going to help. She deserves more than that. I think she's been cheated from damn near the moment she was born. And I don't think she's having a pity party when she describes what's happened to her. And when she says she self-medicates with alcohol, I don't ask myself why she does that. I ask myself, why not? I mean, if I had been through what you had been through, I would look for anything I could find to escape the feelings that has left me with.
I've never wanted to feel. I've been so afraid of feeling.
I get it. And what I'm saying to you is I think you deserve better and more than what you've gotten. And I think you deserve better and more than just moving her into a bedroom at a house with 2 people that love her but have no ability to help her heal. I think what she needs is serious professional help and support. And you have been through major trauma in your life over and over again. And it has left open wounds inside you. It's robbed you of your self-worth, your self-esteem. It's robbed you of your identity. And it takes very specialized care for someone to come in and heal those wounds. And there is a place that specializes in that called On-Site. And On-Site is a place in Nashville, Tennessee, that is one of the most, I think, the #1 place on the planet that does intense workshops for people that have been through trauma. It's a wonderful place on 100 acres in the rolling hills outside of Nashville. And Miles Adcox is the founder and director and a very good friend of mine. And they bring in the top experts in the world to do workshops customized to the people that come there. In your case, trauma, to help you heal those wounds so you find who you are. I don't think you're an alcoholic. I don't think you have a problem with it. I think what you do is self-medicate. And if you take away the need to self-medicate, then I don't think that you would have a problem with that. I think you just need to heal those wounds. And I think if you do that, so you're at peace for once in your life, then yeah, I think it'd be great for your mom to come stay with you some. That's what I think. But I think she deserves better than a bedroom in the back of the house before she comes to stay with you. And I would like to offer that to you if you would like to do that. And that's entirely up to...
I tell you that Thank you. To ask for help is the most difficult thing
because
I
you don't
could
feel
ever...
worthy of it. But you're not asking, I'm offering.
Thank you.
That's my plan, or we could do yours.
No, thank you.
Nellie, what do you think?
I think it's wonderful. It's hard. It's hard. It's
Sure. And it will be scary for about the first 90 seconds. The first 90 seconds that you're there, and then you'll find out these are the nicest people in the history of the world. Robin, how nice is Miles Adcox and his people?
He is an angel on earth. He is truly an angel on earth. He's one of the kindest, sweetest, smartest men you'll ever meet. You will fall into his arms and he'll carry you into the most wonderful experience of your life.
And he's so handsome, I want to slap him every time I
He's
see
so
him.
handsome. His wife is beautiful. His children are adorable. The whole staff are truly magical. You will be so happy.
Worthy.
Pardon me?
Being worthy of it. It's just,
Well,
my whole life I felt guilty for wanting anything.
well, you didn't ask, I'm offering, so you don't have to be worthy, you just have to be willing. That's all you have to be right now is willing. Fair enough? Okay? All right. Well, we're done. I know when to stop talking. I want to thank all of my guests today, and a very special thanks to Miles Adcox and OnSite. For more information about today's episode, or if you'd like to share your story, just log on to drphil.com. We will see you next time. Okay?
I heard her say, why did I mention Miss Keanu Reeves, and that would be offensive to him. I got upset that out of all of that, I feel like she picked the most insignificant thing.
What she did was inappropriate.
Nellie, I love you, and I hope you know that.
You could have done that without bringing her name up. That was wrong for that person.
I have fought for you for 13 years. 13 years. And I'm sorry, but right now's the time to get it all on the table. You have the best opportunity I feel you're ever gonna have. She got emotional, she got very anxious on stage, and when she got off, kind of like the first thing that rose to a head, lashed out, and that's what happened. You walk out and you're cussing and yelling and everything else.
Chris, Tiffany, and I will work everything out. We always have. We're family. We're a family. And families stick together.